Get Rich Education is brought to you by Norada Real Estate Corporate Direct and Ridge Lending Group. Cash flow real estate investors, this is Get Rich Education's Keith Weinhold. Did you know that you can finance up to 35 income properties all with one lender? Ridge Lending Group specializes in investment property loans, and they do it in almost every U.S. state. Ridge has worked with tens of thousands of real estate investors and homeowners all over the country. They've been doing this for investors for so long that at this point, they've helped more families realize their dreams of becoming real estate investors than any other mortgage lender in the country. To find out more, visit ridgelendinggroup.com.
Welcome to Get Rich Education with Keith Weinhold, giving you information and ideas on the investment that has turned more ordinary people into millionaires and billionaires than anything else, and can provide you with more wealth and happiness than you ever thought possible. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, and educator, Keith Weinhold.
You are inside Get Rich Education episode 110. You and I are back together for another wealth building week. Hi, I'm your host, Keith Weinhold. Getting rich means living a rich life. That's more important than just having a lot of money. But you know what? Why not have both? That's abundance. And you know something else? You are the president of your own life. That's more important than whom the president of the United States is. Keep that in mind. You've always had more choice in picking your own life path than anyone else in this world does. In fact, being wealthy is a choice. That's something I first read in a Robert Kiyosaki book, probably more than 15 years ago now. And you know what? When I read that, being wealthy is a choice, I didn't believe it. Well, now I know that it is a choice, and I'm not even sure what I was thinking when I didn't believe it some 15 years ago. Shortly after I read that, after starting off with a fourplex building, it was like, well, that totally makes sense. Of course, most people aren't born wealthy, so much of your abundance mentality, that needs to come from within. So being wealthy is a choice. I finally started to get it. And I want to help you instill that sense of choice inside you today. We want passive income through real estate to open up time so that we can live better and give better. And we turn that time into touchy-feely emotions like peace, freedom, love, and happiness. But there's even more than that. Things like a feeling of peace and happiness, those things, they are mere emotions. Happiness is an emotion. Emotions are temporary. Fulfillment is deeper. So you and I are really discussing how to obtain more fulfillment in life today. Why are you missing out on fulfillment? It's because you spend so much time at your job. Even if your job isn't bad, you're both physically and mentally at your job so much that you really don't even have time to find out what you want in life, let alone actually get it. Okay, a workaday job, that is almost never a vehicle for fulfillment. That's why I don't have a job at all. I create value for the world in my own way by providing good, sound housing to others and creating value for others through GRE. You need a vehicle for passive income generation like real estate. What did Secrets of the Millionaire Mind author T. Harv Eker tell us just 6 weeks ago?
The beautiful thing about what you do, Keith, is you give people a vehicle with which to do that. You know the vehicle that everybody talks about? Your job. What job do you have? Do you like your job? Did I get a job? Do you have a job? I don't want to lose my job. You get a raise in your job? Job. Let me say this right now for everybody. You don't have to believe a word I say. I'm not asking you to. I only come from how rich people think versus how broke people think. Job is a curse word, okay? Not from the standpoint of it's a bad thing, but when it comes to wealth and freedom, it is a curse word for your freedom and for your psyche and for your spirit. Job, you working for somebody else. Think about that. You are getting paid to work for somebody else. They're the ones who put this situation together, and they need people to work, listen to my words, instead of them.
Job, 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 job.
Job, 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 job.
A job is a temporary condition. You'll probably have one for a little while. You had better realize, though, that it is not a tool for wealth creation and it won't lead to life fulfillment. So you had better recognize that it is temporary. Employees joke that over the course of their lives, they'll spend more time with their coworkers than they do with their own families. Well, you know what? That joke never made me laugh. That is not funny. That you'll spend more time with Larry from the adjacent cubicle rather than your own wife or children or your spouse. That is not funny. Don't get so caught up trying to make a living that you forget to live a life. That is not a life well lived. This is not a rehearsal. This is your life. One day you will wake up and there won't be any more time to do the things you've always wanted to do. Do it now. You know, we say live where you want to live and invest where the numbers make sense. Robert Helms, okay? And we usually talk about the latter half of that sentence, invest where the numbers make sense. But the more important part of that, arguably, is live where you want to live. Well, how do you know where you want to live? How do you know what you really want? Travel, get out and see the world. Most people aren't even willing to invest in themselves to get out and see the very world that they live in. I mean, this actually ties back to what we talked about 2 weeks ago here on the show, where we discussed, should you rent your home or should you buy your home? We're talking about the home that you live in right there. Well, ask yourself, how much have you traveled in your life? You haven't traveled much? Rent. Have you traveled well? Then own. Okay, get out and see the world that you live in. Do you like the wide open desert spaces of Arizona? How do you know? Have you traveled there? How about the urban vibrancy of New York City? What about the last frontier, Alaska? What do you think about Belize, Central America? Live where you want to live and invest where the numbers make sense. Why aren't you living where you want to live? Because you haven't figured out how? Well, we've got a vehicle for that, okay? Are you not living where you want to live because family keeps you close to home? I guess that's a better answer. But consider this. With the exception of Native Americans or people indigenous to your home country, your own ancestors and relatives, they moved, they emigrated, often across oceans on rickety ships or on stagecoaches through hostile territory. Your family, your ancestors, they've already moved for a better life, whether it was to flee religious persecution or government tyranny or just to live a life that better fits their interests. So then, don't you feel like you owe it to your family to continue their journey? I'm the one that always says, don't follow money, make money follow you. When you live where you want to live and invest where the numbers make sense, the passive income from turnkey rental property follows you. You don't need to follow it to some job. Okay, that's the vehicle, the passive income. Remember, wealth is measured in time, not dollars. To find out what you want and choose this life of fulfillment and wealth, other than travel, other than getting out to see the world in order to know what you really want, I would also say this: be bold. Be bold. The great news is that if you're bold, you don't have to be the smartest person or the most articulate person, or certainly not the most financially wealthy person. More than 15 years ago, I chose to move to Anchorage, Alaska from rural Pennsylvania because I got out and saw the world that I live in first. And thank God that my parents instilled that sense within me. I vacationed in Alaska 4 times previously, and I knew that's where I wanted to be after comparing it with other places I had traveled to. And you know what many of my fellow Pennsylvanians thought when I told them I'm moving to Alaska? You're nuts. Dude, you're nuts. Well, it turned out to be one of the smartest things I've ever done. It fits my lifestyle and interests. Well, what about when, after moving to Anchorage, and I had been a lifetime renter up to that point, and instead of making my first home a single family home, I bought an Anchorage, Alaska fourplex. I lived in one unit and I rented out the other three. And again, some people thought that sounded a little scary, kind of nuts. Again, it's one of the best things I ever did. Again, be bold. After I had a few profitable apartment buildings, other real estate investors that I knew that were in a similar position as me, they just wanted to get their small apartment building paid off. Well, I knew by that point that being financially free beats being debt-free. So instead, what I did is I 1031 exchanged all of my smaller apartment buildings for larger apartment buildings. Contemporaries thought I was nuts. It turned out to be a great move. Be bold. I quit a good-paying job that was okay, and I cared about it, but I could never be passionate about it. I walked away from a good salary, a pension, 7+ weeks, paid vacation, kind of rarities today. And scarcity mentality coworkers clearly thought I was nuts. I'm not nuts. I've taken time to find out what I want. Be bold. They're nuts. They don't even take the time to figure out what they want in life. That right there, that's nuts. One of my favorite Mark Twain quotes is, whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it is time to pause and reflect. Actually, it's Darren Hardy that's got a great quote about being bold. He says, people don't resent you for being bold. They resent themselves for being afraid. Again, people don't resent you for being bold. They resent themselves for being afraid. Do you live in New York or California? Your coworker doesn't resent you for owning a profitable turnkey property in Dallas. They resent themselves for being afraid. You talk to people as you go on in life, and a lot of people, they seem to say this common thing. They say that, well, life seems to speed up as you age. They think life speeds up as they age, and therefore, people are often saying then that they feel like they're younger than they are. They say they can't believe that they're as old as they are already. Well, I don't see it that way. See, I feel exactly my age because I go and do rather than wait and see. I have experiences besides investing in myself to travel and have experiences, acting boldly, which helps me both find out what I want. I try to, I guess, also immerse myself in the moment. That way, it feels like I'm having more indelible experiences. How do you make your experience more rich and indelible? And this is something that you can do in as little as 15 minutes. Disable notifications. Disable most all of your social media notifications. You don't really need your phone to make that dumb little ding either every time a new email comes in. That's distracting you from experiences and diverting you into things that don't really matter and could never possibly be memorable. Another way to live a rich life, choose wealth, and live a life of fulfillment, it's to hang out with people whose future is bigger than their past. We've talked about that a lot. Nothing will change your thought process faster than changing your group of friends. Do you want to listen to family and friends' advice? I mean, frankly, their experience is probably fear. It's fear. Isn't it ironic that those people that love you the most in life, your own parents, they're the same ones that placed a limiting belief system inside your spirit and your will? I mean, people need to stop being congratulated for being cheap or even focusing on frugality. That's fear-based thinking, okay? Did you ever take financial advice from poor people? People that think 401ks are a great investment vehicle? I mean, instead, take it from people that are where you want to be. Remember, POOR, P-O-O-R, that stands for passing over opportunity repeatedly. Just like being wealthy is a choice, poverty is a choice too. You were born rich because you were born with an abundance of choices, and then society stifled that for you. You've got to try, be bold. Fear and doubt destroy more dreams than failure ever does. Fear and doubt destroy more dreams than failure ever does. Fear and doubt, those are just gigantic, thick walls constructed by the mind. Are you really regularly living life all out? Or are you just existing in space and time? 10 years from now, I want you to ask yourself, did I choose my life, or did I basically just settle for it? What about your last 10 years? Did you really choose those? Or did you settle for it? So travel well, be bold, disable notifications, and what was the last thing? Surround yourself with the right people. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself so out of position in life, so incongruent, so out of alignment with what you really want. I want you to die with memories, not dreams. Most people die with more dreams than memories. I'm telling you how to die with more memories than dreams. And don't just downgrade your dream to fit this new reality that you've chosen to settle for. It's pretty sad. Most people die about age 25. It's just that they're not buried until age 85. That is really sad. You see, when your dream dies, a huge part of you dies, and actually, it gets worse. I'm sorry, but it gets worse, because would you want your own kids to live below their means or expand their means? And your children, they follow along with what you do more so than what you say. Did your dream die before your children reached their formative years? Then what kind of limiting influence are you having on them? This is important stuff. This is fulfillment. Right now, it doesn't seem to matter if your cash-on-cash return from your latest income property is 8.1% or 9.2%, does it? People spend too much time chasing the next deal and not enough time simply finding out what they want from life. What is your ultimate exit strategy? It's beginning with the end in mind. Talking about when does a person effectively die? I mean, you know what's sad? When's the last time you walked through a graveyard? Just look around at some of those gravestones. There's William, there's Harriet over there. Over there is John. Every one of them, they didn't get what they wanted. They never even thought big enough to be bold. And you know what's even worse? William, Harriet, John, they never even found out what they wanted in that past life of theirs, let alone get it. Now that is extremely sad. Is that where you're going to go? I mean, look, I don't know whether you believe in an afterlife or not, but you had better find out what you want and then be bold about going after it and help others and create value for the world. Hell on earth is meeting the person that you could have been. Who's the person too scared to get on stage or think big or take action? Don't be that person. Hell on earth is meeting the person that you could have been. I think I need to take out right here, Bedrin. You're listening to Get Rich education.
If you love real estate and have always wanted to own your own business, listen up. The Real Estate Guys and their panel of experts want to teach you how to go full-time fast in the real estate syndication business. These next few years may go down in history as one of the best times ever to acquire investment real estate. There are deals everywhere if you know where to look and how to assemble the resources. The Secrets of Successful Syndication seminar will show you how to make big money doing big deals from a team of experts that have syndicated projects totaling more than $1 billion. Don't wait for someone to give you a raise or create a job for you. Attend the Secrets of Successful Syndication and learn how to build a team, raise capital, find deals, and make full-time money in 6 months or less. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click on events. All the big players use syndication as a way to diversify risk, optimize profits, and earn big money. You can too. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click on events.
Are you having a hard time finding great investment properties? Unfortunately, the best deals are rarely found locally. Successful investing begins with the right properties in the right markets. Norada Real Estate provides everything you need to invest in the best deals across the U.S. Our simple, proven system will help you create real wealth and passive monthly cash flow. Get your free copy of the ultimate guide to passive real estate investing at noradarealestate.com/guide. That's NORADA realestate.com/guide.
You've worked hard to acquire real estate. Don't lose it in a blue instant. We live in a litigious society. Assets must be protected. Rich Dad advisor Garrett Sutton founded Corporate Direct to provide strong and effective asset protection for all investors in America. Corporate Direct offers personalized attention to your specific situation and is very affordable. Call 800-600-1760 and mention Get Rich Education for a $100 discount on all formations. Garrett Sutton wrote Loopholes of Real Estate, Start Your Own Corporation, and Toxic Client, among other bestsellers. He and his experienced team at Corporate Direct want you to be protected right now and with proper corporate maintenance into the future. Visit corporatedirect.com today for a free incorporation kit or call 800-600-1760 for your Get Rich discount. That's corporatedirect.com at 800-600-1760.
This is Cashflow Diaries Jay Massey. Do the right thing, then do things right. Listen to Get Rich Education with Keith Weinhold.
Welcome back to Get Rich Education. I've been writing for the Rich Dad Advisors about how real estate is a multi-dimensional investment class. Okay, that means that you're paid multiple ways simultaneously, 5 in fact. Let's briefly look at the ways that you're paid at the same time with a simple example, and then we're going to add up your rates of return to see how much you're paid at the end of year 1. So you've carefully purchased a $100,000 rental single-family home where the rent income exceeds the expenses. Yes, you could actually find properties like that in the U.S., Midwest, and South. With a 20% down payment, that leaves you with an $80,000 loan on that $100,000 property. The property is already tenanted, okay? So let's look at the first way you're paid. Your property appreciates after year 1 from $100,000 up to $106,000, commensurate with real estate's historic appreciation rate of 6%. I think it's really 6.4%, but let's just call it 6. Well, your $6,000 gain right there, that's from your down payment of just $20,000. So that magic of leverage, 6,000 divided by 20,000, that means your return is 30%. Yeah, 30%. And wait, you're still paid 4 more ways that will add onto that 30%. Okay, the second way you're paid simultaneously is cash flow. Your rent income minus all the monthly expenses like mortgage, property tax, property manager, repairs, insurance, vacancy. That leaves you with, we'll say in this example, $200 of residual monthly cash flow. That's very realistic. So that's $2,400 annually. Well, that divided by your $20,000 down payment, that's the portion that we called the cash-on-cash return. That is another 12%, and we're up to 42% already, 30 from the appreciation, 12 from the cash flow. The third way you're paid at the same time is loan pay down. Now, unlike in your own home where you pay this, your tenant pays the monthly principal portion of your $80,000 loan on this property. So at a 5% interest rate on a 30-year mortgage, that's $1,176 that the tenant pays down off your mortgage balance annually. So that $1,176 divided by your $20K of skin in the game, that means that's another return for you, another 6%, and we're now up to a 48% total rate of return now, and we've still got 2 ways to go, okay? The fourth way is the tax benefit. We're talking about both the mortgage interest deduction that you get and something called depreciation that you can typically use as a write-off against your income, and you didn't have to spend any money to get that depreciation write-off. And that typically means you don't even pay tax on all of your rent income. And your return here, your tax benefit, that can be pretty hard to measure because that's based on your situation and your income outside the property and so on. But we'll conservatively call this investment tailwind another 2%. So we're now up to a 50% total rate of return. The fifth way that you're paid is through inflation hedging. And this fifth way, it's some that even a lot of advanced investors and coaches and teachers don't even consider. Okay, so just like inflation erodes the value of a lump of savings that a person would have in the bank, well, it also erodes the weight of your mortgage debt balance just the same. So your $80,000 loan on this property, that $80,000 loan today, it has its drag diluted over time as more and more dollars circulate in an economy. It gets easier to pay back, and we'll call this benefit another return of 3%, since that's a pretty safe long-term inflation number. So if you add up your return from the 5 ways you're paid simultaneously as a leveraged, cash-flowing real estate investor, your year one return from this income property is a whopping 53%. Yes, a 53% total rate of return. That is exciting. Let's note a few limitations here, though, okay? This example is simplified. We didn't factor in your buyer mortgage loan closing costs, which the seller can often help pay for you, though. But if you buy your property in a losing job market or you hire the wrong property manager, your entire investment could go south. And we also didn't include your costs of selling the property on the way out either after you've held it for hopefully a number of years. And another thing too, you need to do some trimming, some pruning. You need to keep your equity working harder for you so that every few years you'll want to do a cash out refinance or a 1031 exchange. And each of those vehicles are tax-free, by the way, but you want to pay attention to that. Otherwise, your return on equity will slump. Let's note a couple positives too, okay? In your cash flow that I talked about, which was the second of 5 ways you're paid, your property management cost is already considered, and that means that your income is basically passive. You're not actively managing it. Passive means you don't have to work for it. And we've also accounted for property hazard insurance that shields you from some big losses. This is investing. Things not only can go wrong, they will go wrong sooner or later. The month that you need to spend $1,000 to replace a section of fence just isn't going to feel that great. But, right there it is. It really is remarkable to see that 53%. It's remarkable once a person plainly sees all the ways that you're paid as a real estate investor. And if you want to read what I just described, I put an article link in the show notes that details this 53% ROI, and it adds up just like I did it here in case you'd rather see it visually and read it. I mean, even if a lot of things go wrong and you only get half of your 53% total return, meaning that the property appreciation would be 3% rather than 6%, and that the cash on cash return is 6 rather than 12, and so on, and you just have each of these ways, cut them in half that you're paid so that 53% total return is cut in half, well, A 26% annual return on investment sounds pretty good to even the most savvy investor. And see, that 26%, that's really quite safe with the way that we calculated it. And for those from the stock world, to achieve 26%, that just sounds kind of out there. That sounds kind of risky. But people in the know this. Banks know this. That's why they'll give you an 80% loan on real estate, and it's extremely difficult to get a loan for stocks. And even if you do get a loan on stocks, it's a 50% loan, and there are more limits there than there are with the real estate. Real estate is a safer investment than stocks. It's a better investment class. But you've got to treat leverage with respect and don't get into trouble with it. Buy strategically. Don't jump into anything. Think long term. Once you're in, you need to weather the short-term losses. And real estate just massively outperforms any other investment vehicle over time. So again, being wealthy is a choice. If you understand this and put it into practice, it can truly change your life and your family's life for generations. Most people don't ever start in real estate investing because of an emotion, fear. Education dispels fear. You genuinely have the ability to build more wealth than you ever thought possible. I hope that you got some great perspective today. As always, I will be back again with you next week to help you build your wealth. And we're going to approach it from an angle that we've never approached it from before next week. Until then, always remember, being wealthy is a choice and life fulfillment is a choice. And don't quit your daydream.
You've been listening to Get Rich Education, telling you what the wealthy won't tell you about real estate and investing.
Nothing on this show should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for individualized advice. Opinions of guests are their own. Information is not guaranteed. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. The host is operating on behalf of Get Rich Education, LLC exclusively.
Cashflow real estate investors nationwide and worldwide, this is Get Rich Education's Keith Weinhold. Forbes has rated Memphis, Tennessee as the #1 cash flowing market in the world. Our good friends at Mid-South Homebuyers have been Memphis's premier turnkey real estate provider for 14 years with a stellar reputation and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Owner Terry Kerr was born and raised in Memphis. Yeah, he knows the market and has renovated and sold over 1,000 houses in the Memphis area. Find out what their many repeat buyers already know. Their houses are completely renovated, even come with a 1-year builder's warranty and a lifelong rental guarantee. They're a perfect fit for the first-time out-of-state investor or the seasoned investor diversifying their portfolio. Mid-South Homebuyers' friendly staff makes investing easy. Learn more at midsouthhomebuyers.com or give them a call at 901-217-HOME. The preceding program was brought to you by your home for wealth building, GetRichEducation.com.